Okay, so it's happened again. I've got this shopping list on my phone, mainly photography gear, stuff that I want to buy. And one of the companies has contacted me saying, Ben, we'd like to send you some stuff. How would you like to review it? And I'm not complaining. I'm definitely not complaining, but this just goes to prove that they are listening, they are watching. So no more messing around, let's up the ante. I think I need to update my shopping list. So matte black Lamborghini, how are you spelling Lamborghini? On with today's video. Today we're talking about filters. So I use a bunch of filters in my workflow. I use solid NDs, I use polarizers, variable NDs, grad filters. I've even experimented with infrared filters. And today, a company called Freewell have sent me some magnetic filters. So this is a solution to a problem. Let me explain. And I know I talk quickly, but if you didn't know about any of the filters that I've just mentioned, if you go to the link in the top of the description, I've written a blog on my website about all the different filters and what they do. So today I'm talking about a product that is a solution to a problem. Freewell make many filters, but they also make these magnetic filters. And as you can see, these are super slim. And they've sent me two filters to test. They've sent me a 6-stop ND, which is on the camera filming me right now, and they've also sent me a 10-stop solid ND. Both of these are circular and they are magnetic. And if you're interested, they make filters for loads of different devices, from a DJI Osmo Pocket to a drone to your mirrorless camera. So today's video is divided into two halves. The first half is going to be how I use these filters to make videos and a bit of hybrid shooting, which is where you take some stills in between video clips. And then the second half is me tomorrow morning at sunrise, 5 o'clock, going to be taking some long exposures using this 10-stop filter. Brighton seafront, low tide, should be good. In the meantime, today I'm just going to be blocking people trying to get on and off this bandstand on Brighton seafront. On with the show. Okay, let's talk about video, because unlike stills, you don't have the luxury of choosing your shutter speed when making video. Well, you can. However, if you want natural looking videos, then there's a rule. It's called the 180-degree shutter rule, and quite simply, your shutter speed should be twice your frame rate. So I export all of my videos at 25 frames per second. That means my shutter speed should be at 1/50th of a second. There's no negotiation on that. So now, think about the exposure triangle. The only variables you've got left now are your ISO and your aperture. Future Ben here. So yesterday was a bit overcast, so I thought I would show you how this filter performs in super bright conditions. So it's the next day, the sun is out in full force, and I'm shooting at f2.8 1/50th of a second using the 6-stop ND filter. This is at ISO 160. So if I were to take this off, it's going to get bright. Are you ready? This is what the scene looks like without the ND filter. Then I put the ND filter back on and we are back in business. So if you needed to shoot at large aperture, so this is f2.8 in the super bright sunshine, but I'm still maintaining 1/50th of a second, but using a fixed ND filter, you can still do this. So this is the only option I've got. If I forgot my filters at home, I'm shooting at 1/50th of a second, ISO 100, f16 to maintain that shutter speed. So you might be happy with that, but if this is a distracting background, if you want to see all of the people walking their dogs behind me, f16 is the only choice that I've got right now. If I went out and forgot my filters and I wanted a blurry background, ISO 100, f2.8, I've got to have a shutter speed of 1/2000th of a second. So as you can see here, if I flap my hands around, this should be very unnatural movement. They should just be very jittery in terms of the movement. All right, okay, and we are back on the correct settings. I've got the 6-stop filter back on, ISO 160, f2.8, 1/50th of a second, and this is very bright conditions. Video aside, just take your hand, put it in front of your face and move your hand around. You should see your fingers merging into one another. Your eyes and your brain slightly blur them and they all start to merge into one another. That is what you're trying to replicate when you're making video. That is why you're looking for the shutter speed of 1/50th of a second, or always double your frame rate, and then you get natural looking results. Anyway, I rudely interrupted myself. Back to the younger me on Brighton seafront. So when you reach this point of having dropped your ISO to the minimum and you've got your shutter speed fixed and the aperture is what you want it to be, then you've got no choice but to reach for an ND filter. Now for the last couple of years, like most people, I've been using traditional screw-in filters. Now this is a variable ND. Now if I hold this up to the camera, you'll be able to see, if I turn it, I've got complete control over how much light it lets through. This is a variable ND, and quite simply it's just two polarizing filters put together and you can turn them independently to control the light. But in order to put this on the lens, this is screwing, so this is not a quick process. So let me show you. Taking off the magnetic one now, put that safely down there. Right, and this is how long it takes to put in a screw-on variable ND. Okay, that's on, and now I've got to get the exposure correct. There you go. Oh, too much. Can you see the cross? You see that cross? This is what happens with polarizers. So I think I need to bring that down a bit. Oh, it's still too much. Right, that is what it takes to go from a camera with no filter to putting a screw-in variable ND. That's how long it takes to set up. So the other problem with variable NDs, because they take so long to take on and off the camera, you might leave it on. And if you were to make one continuous video where you go from outside to inside, then that's just going to push your ISO really high. So you can see the benefit in being able to take a filter off really quickly. The biggest barrier that this object creates is the fact that you have to screw it on. 10 to 15 seconds putting this on your lens is definitely 10 to 15 seconds of missing a moment. So if you're trying to use one camera to take photographs and video, screw-in filters are the barrier to creativity. Okay, inside the box you're going to get a few things that are going to help speed up your workflow. First thing you're going to get is a clear metal ring. This is going to screw on the front of your lens, and that is where it's going to stay forever. As well as the metal filter thread, you also get the same thing but with a UV glass in it. Of course you get the filter, and you also get a magnetic lens cap. So we put all this together, that goes on there, that's already on your lens, and then you get your magnetic lens cap, and there you go. That's how easy this is. Everything is magnetic. Now let me show you what I do to speed things up. Just say that this lens is attached to my camera, and then you've got your Freewell magnetic filter attached to it. Now the idea of saving loads of time by taking this off is great. However, now you've got a filter in your hand. What do you do with this? Because you've saved loads of time, you've saved 10 or 15 seconds taking this off. Now what? I've got it in my hand. Let me show you a nifty little trick. You take the UV filter that comes inside the box, which I'm not a massive fan of, and we're going to use this as a sacrificial safe keep to put this in your pocket. So you take the UV filter, you take the filter that you care about, and you put your lens cap here, and then you chuck it in your pocket. And that is how I've been using it for the last couple of weeks. And now all of a sudden, we're making the most of all the time that we've saved, because we can chuck this in our pocket. And when we need it again, it's in our back pocket. Sweet. That's the solution that we're talking about. And if you're curious about vignetting, this is a full frame Canon 16mm. There you go, you can have a look at the edges, and this is what you can expect in terms of vignetting 16mm. You can still put your lens hood on. Let me just put my lens hood on to see how practical this is. You can still put your lens hood on, and you can just about get it in and out. It is possible with the lens hood still to use this magnetic filter system, but it's probably going to be much easier without that. So originally when Freewell contacted me, I asked them nicely for a variable ND filter because that is what I'm used to. But they sent me some solid NDs. Now, I think I'm convincing myself that that is actually the way that I should be doing things, because when I'm filming indoors, I don't need any NDs. But when I'm shooting outdoors, if the weather conditions are bright enough, I know that a 6-stop ND filter will do the job. And then quite simply, I leave my camera in f2.8, 1/50th of a second, and the ISO I just leave in auto so the camera can deal with that. And this is a full frame camera, so it can handle the ISO being pushed up a little bit outdoors. So here's the workflow. I've been using this for a couple of weeks now. If I want to take some stills, I switch my camera from moving mode to stills mode, I take the filter off, take some photographs. When I go back to filming, put the filter back on, and then I'm ready to go. See how simple that is? Right, I'm going to head back home now because I've got an early start for the second half of this video. 5 o'clock in the morning, sunrise, low tide, Brighton Pier. See you there. Good morning everybody, it's a lovely calm start to the day. It's not exactly as I predicted, but this could work out absolutely perfect for long exposure. So, as you can probably tell, the iconic Brighton Pier behind me. There are two piers in Brighton. This is the Palace Pier. It's the pier to the east, and it's the functioning one where you can get chips, candy floss, and you can have all of that stolen by the seagulls. So I've warned you. So it's sunrise. The sun might be showing its face over here. Not everybody knows this, but because Brighton's got a pebble beach, if you come here at low tide, and this isn't super low tide, but this is low enough, then sand reveals itself. Okay, so let me talk you through the background of the photograph. You can see here, you've got the Palace Pier in the foreground, and then you've got the West Pier about maybe half a mile away in between the arches. This is the perfect shot for me. So I'm going to move a bit closer, and you can see you get reflections in the foreground. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the 6-stop filter onto the camera now, do some long exposures, see what sort of exposure length that's given me. Ideally, depending upon the cloud speed, movement, I'm normally looking for around, say, 1 minute to 2 minutes exposure. That's the ideal situation for me, and then I'm probably going to convert this to black and white. But let's find out what these colours look like off the camera. At the moment, a 6-stop filter, that might not look like it is quite bright, so I'm only getting 30 seconds, so that's not enough for me. I'm going to switch it over for the 10-stop filter and do some extreme long exposures. 10-stop filter is a massive improvement. I've got cloud movement, the water's all silky smooth. So the 10-stop, I'm going to be using the 10-stop for now, especially since the sun's going to come up in a bit. You can only shoot images where the foreground and the background, all of this is generally the same exposure because you're not using any grads. I thought this was going to be a bit of a washout because the sky looks a bit miserable, but for long exposures this is perfect. What you want is a bit of detail in the sky, so when the clouds move you get texture. You don't want a completely grey overcast day, that's rubbish. So the selling point of this product is speed and convenience, right? But as a landscape photographer, most of the time I'm not in a massive rush. I get to the location an hour before sunrise or sunset, and then I set the camera up and I wait. So saving 15, 20, 30 seconds, that's not a big deal. So I think if you're going to use this product for long exposures, you have to change your mindset, with landscapes that is. Take this scene for example. If the sky was much brighter in the foreground, then you would need a traditional filter system that allows you to add grads. I brought my wellies for a reason, and that's because I've been here before at sunrise a bunch of times, and I know that you get better shots in the water. So I'm going to start to move out into the water. Hopefully that doesn't introduce camera shake, but let's see what we get. See, this is the exposure problem you get when you don't have any grad filters. Most of that image is correctly exposed, but you've got a few areas of the sky that could really benefit from a grad filter. Now I'm very much in the water. Just got to keep an eye out for some rogue waves, otherwise I'm going to get wet jeans. But that's a part of the fun anyway. So the reason I've come out into the water is because I want a nice clean foreground, and I'm going to get that with the waves coming in. Plus, you know, I talked earlier about getting the West Pier inside the arches. You have to move quite far in order to maintain that being in the arch. So you can't just move a little bit, you've got to move, say, 15 or 20 meters, and then you're in deep water. So I'm just doing a test shot now, and I'll see how this comes out. I've got a few shots, but I'm going to have to retreat because I'm getting wet and the tide's coming back in again. Right, so I've already got the 10-stop filter on there right now. And then with one hand, that's now 16-stop filter. I don't think I've mentioned it yet. They offer a service where they engrave your name onto the filter. So they've actually sent me filters with Ben Harvey on it, so thank you very much for that. Alright, 16 stops, that's a lot of waiting around. Okay, so you can see the irony in the fact that I'm doing a 4-minute exposure, yet I'm using a product that that's been invented to save time. So that 15, 30 seconds that I've saved myself not screwing in a filter I'm now sitting in the sea for 4 minutes waiting for the picture to develop, and that is why I think, for me, this product is better suited for the videos, because I'm constantly, as a hybrid shooter, going from videos to stills, the ability to take an ND filter off, put it in your pocket, that's the solution to a problem right there. That is what's really exciting me with this product. So I just had a look at the 5-minute exposure, so using the 10 stop and the 6 stop combined, and I zoomed right in and it was looking crispy. So I was very impressed with the optical quality of these filters. I don't normally like to stack loads of filters, you run into all sorts of problems, but very impressed with the quality of that. Now another thing it's worth mentioning, if you use a traditional screw-in 10-stop filter, you can see here my camera is struggling to focus and it's difficult to compose your photograph because you've got the filter on the front of the camera. But because it's magnetic, you can just take it off. It's as simple as that. But with a traditional screw-in, you have to compose your photograph first and then screw on your filter. If you're interested in learning about how to do long exposure photography, then I'll put a link in the description because I've written a blog about it. I also filmed a tutorial with Gordon Lang from Camera Labs, and I'll put that video thumbnail at the end of this video. So if you want to learn about long exposures, I've given you all of the resources you need. Okay, I think I'm done here, so if you're interested in any of Freewell's products, I'll put a link in the description to their website. Thank you for watching, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I'll see you in the next video.